Welcome to Creepy, the best horror storyteller on YouTube.
Sable was a secret agent, but he didn't look like one. He was overweight and middle-aged, with a receding hairline and glasses. He had a kind face and a gentle voice. If you saw him on the street, you would never think that he was capable of saving the world. But Sable was a very skilled agent. He was intelligent, resourceful, and brave. He had been on many dangerous missions, and he had always come out alive. One night, Sable was expecting a very important report. The report contained information that could change the course of history. Sable was sitting in his apartment, waiting for the report to arrive, when he heard a knock at the door. He opened the door and found his friend, Fowler, standing there. Fowler was a writer, and he was interested in learning more about the life of a secret agent. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything," Fowler said, "but I was wondering if you would be willing to tell me a little bit about your work." "Of course," Sable said. "Come in." Sable and Fowler sat down in the living room, and Sable began to tell Fowler about his life as a secret agent. He told him about the dangerous missions he had been on and the challenges he had faced. Fowler was fascinated by Sable's stories. He had never met anyone like him before. "This is amazing," Fowler said. "I can't believe all the things you've done." Sable smiled. "It's not always easy," he said, "but it's a job that needs to be done." Suddenly, there was a loud crash from the bedroom. Sable and Fowler jumped up and ran to the room. The door was open, and they could see a man standing inside. The man was holding a gun. "Don't move," the man said. "I have the gun." Sable and Fowler froze. "I want the report," the man said. "Give it to me now." Sable knew that he was in trouble. He had to find a way to get rid of the man without getting himself or Fowler killed. "Okay," Sable said. "I'll give you the report. But first, I need to know who you are and why you want it." The man didn't answer. He just pointed the gun at Sable. Sable took a deep breath. He knew that he had to act quickly. "Look," Sable said, "I'm not going to give you the report unless you tell me who you are." The man hesitated for a moment. Then he lowered the gun slightly. "My name is Max," he said. "I work for the enemy." Sable nodded. "I see," he said. "Well, Max, I'm not going to give you the report. It's too important." Max raised the gun again. "You don't have a choice," he said. "I'll kill you and your friend if you don't give it to me." Sable looked at Fowler. Fowler was terrified, but he was trying to be brave. "It's okay, Sable," Fowler said. "I'm not afraid." Sable smiled at Fowler. "Thanks, Fowler," he said. "That means a lot." Sable turned back to Max. "I'm still not going to give you the report," he said. "And you're not going to kill me or my friend." Max laughed. "Oh, yeah," he said. "And how are you going to stop me?" Sable smiled. "I have a plan," he said. But what was Sable's plan? And would it work? Sable's plan was simple. He needed to convince Max that he was in danger. He knew that Max was working for the enemy and that he would do anything to get the report. So Sable decided to play on Max's fears. "Max," Sable said, "I'm not the only one who knows about the report. My superiors know about it, and they know that you're coming for it." Max's eyes widened. "What?" he said. "How do they know?" "They have their ways," Sable said. "But the point is, they're expecting you, and they're ready for you." Max started to pace back and forth. He was clearly worried. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "Are you going to turn me in?" "I don't know," Sable said. "That depends on you. If you give me the report, I might be able to convince my superiors to go easy on you. But if you don't..." Sable trailed off, but the message was clear. If Max didn't cooperate, he would be in big trouble. Max stopped pacing and looked at Sable. "I don't know what to do," he said. "I don't have much time," Sable said. "You need to make a decision now." Max took a deep breath. "Okay," he said. "I'll give you the report, but you have to promise that you'll help me." Sable smiled. "I promise," he said. Max reached into his pocket and pulled out the report. He handed it to Ausable. Ausable took the report and put it in his pocket. "Thank you, Max," he said. "I'm sure we can work something out." Max nodded. "I hope so," he said. But even as he said the words, Ausable knew that he wasn't going to let Max go. Max was a dangerous man, and he couldn't be trusted. "Now," Ausable said, "I think we should have a little chat about how we're going to get you out of here." Max sat down on the couch, and Ausable joined him. "First, we need to make sure that the coast is clear," Ausable said. "I'm going to go to the balcony and check for any sign of the police." Ausable got up and walked to the balcony. He looked out the window and saw nothing but empty streets. "It's clear," Ausable said. "Now, we need to come up with a plan to get you out of here without being seen." Ausable and Max talked for a few minutes, and they came up with a plan. Max would sneak out the back door of the apartment building and disappear into the night. Ausable would cover for him by telling the police that he had escaped. Max agreed to the plan, and he stood up to leave. "Thank you for your help," Max said. "I owe you one." "No problem," Ausable said. "Just be careful out there." Max nodded and walked to the door. He opened the door and slipped out into the night. Ausable closed the door and sighed with relief. He had gotten rid of Max, but he knew that the danger wasn't over. The enemy still wanted the report, and they would stop at nothing to get it. Ausable needed to get the report to his superiors as soon as possible. But first, he needed to make sure that he was safe. He walked to the window and looked out at the street below. He didn't see anyone suspicious, but he knew that they could be lurking anywhere. Ausable took a deep breath and turned away from the window. He had a job to do, and he was going to do it. He walked to the phone and called his superiors. He told them that he had the report and that he would be bringing it to them as soon as possible. His superiors were relieved to hear the news. They told Ausable to be careful and that they would send a car to pick him up. Ausable hung up the phone and waited. He knew that the next few hours would be dangerous, but he was determined to get the report to his superiors safely. Ausable waited patiently for the car to arrive. He knew that the enemy was probably still looking for him, so he had to be careful. He sat in the dark living room, listening to the sounds of the night. He could hear the occasional car passing by, but otherwise the street was quiet. After about an hour, Ausable heard a car pull up outside the apartment building. He got up and went to the window. He saw a black car parked in front of the building. The car was idling and the headlights were off. Ausable knew that this was the car that his superiors had sent to pick him up. He took a deep breath and opened the door. He walked out of the apartment building and got into the car. The door closed behind him, and the car drove off. Ausable leaned back in the seat and sighed with relief. He was safe, and the report was in his possession. He knew that the enemy would be furious when they found out that he had escaped, but he didn't care. He had done his job, and that was all that mattered. The car drove for about 15 minutes before it arrived at a secret government facility. Ausable was greeted by 2 armed guards, who led him inside. Ausable was taken to a secure room, where he met with his superiors. He gave them the report, and they were very pleased. "We're very grateful for your help, Ausable," one of his superiors said. "This report is very important, and it could make a big difference in the war." Ausable smiled. "I'm just glad I could do my part," he said. Ausable's superiors offered him a medal for his bravery, but he declined. He said that he was just doing his job. Ausable left the facility and walked out into the night. He felt tired but satisfied. He had completed a dangerous mission, and he had saved the day. As he walked down the street, Ausable thought about Max. He wondered what had happened to him. Had he escaped? Or had the enemy caught up with him? Ausable didn't know. But he knew one thing for sure. He would never forget the midnight visitor.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more similar horror stories.